Hello, I'm Sandy Gardner, and welcome to our updated monthly report. Since so much more detail goes into our weekly studio updates, we've compiled a month's worth of reports into one place. Now you can easily find out what the developers in Los Angeles, Frankfurt, Austin, and the UK have been up to for the past month. Take a look.
Hey everyone, I'm Eric Tyron Davis, Senior Producer here in Los Angeles. As many of you know, the LA office houses several disciplines working across multiple aspects of Star Citizen. So we wanted to give you a quick update on the progress we've been making. One of our biggest teams is the technical content team, led by the great Sean Tracy. Members of his team span across 3 time zones. And if you were to describe that team, the function of that team on a t-shirt, it'd read something like solving problems you didn't know you had in ways you wouldn't understand. So to understand those solved problems, here's some of the things that they did. To start, a portion of the team is working with engineering on the new damage system. As we've shown in the past, some ships are already using the new damage system, which create much more random and organic damage effects via procedurally generated materials and an internal skeleton that appears when the metal just melts away. We've also been working on adding the physics-driven destructible behavior to our item system 2.0. Initially, this just meant converting the existing functionality into the new item 2.0 health and damage system. However, this work is much more than just a port. Networking, persistence, and VFX functionality will be improved, and it also extends destructibility to a broader class of entities, including props. Members of the tech content team also work with animation to implement the introduction of facial idols for pilots of all ships. Now, no more death stares when flying over to save someone from Korea. Additionally, tech content developed a tool for marking up zones that are used by the renderer to hide and show different areas on a character mesh when layered pieces of clothing and armor are equipped. So basically, if your character is wearing a shirt and then you put a jacket on, the zone culling tells the renderer to hide and ignore any part of the shirt that is out of sight. One of tech content's many contributions to this powerful feature was to create a tool that automatically zones and splits any number of assets regardless of topology. This allows us to quickly implement the zone culling feature onto an already massive database of character art in a fraction of the time. So in a nutshell, as opposed to manually updating existing armor and clothing to work with this new feature, this tool will automate that process and save us a lot of dev time. Now, our tech design team has been working on many different elements of the game. And one of their many tools to help everyone visualize expected gameplay is to develop prototypes of upcoming features and gameplay. Recently, we've had 2 prototypes come out of tech design. The first was based off of Chris's initial vision for the interaction system, which in a nutshell is the interface by which players will be able to control and manipulate various objects in the game world, such as ships, control panels, weapons, and a whole lot more. Once they roughed out that system, they worked with programming and UI to ensure that the prototype functionality was not only clear on what we're trying to achieve, but actually possible. And the second prototype was how the player controls the properties of items to manage their signals generated by entities like spaceships. For example, how the power is managed to shields, weapons, and thrusters, which allow us to manage our emissions and engage in a kind of a stealthy gameplay. The foundational work of this prototype will allow us to change properties of these items so that we can determine how upgrading will be desirable and fixes our previously limited system, which we were unable to balance, and provide a much more direct way to implement gameplay via simple numerical values. They're also deep into the setup of the Drake Cutlass Black, Buccaneer, and the rework of the RSI Aurora, as well as another ship we can't quite discuss yet. And lastly, they're taking a pass at updating our ship stats page on the website to bring all the information about our ships up to the most current specs. As part of this change, we plan on providing regular updates about any changes to each of our ships going forward. Now, over on the engineering side, the team has been working on instance properties, which allow designers to modify any part of an entity component in editor or in game. With this feature, designers do not have to create tons of similar entity templates for our game. They just need to expose some parameters, which the designer can then modify inside the editor. This will save asset storage space and really reduce the number of entity components, but at the same time, allow for much more variations. And obviously, with the ultimate aim to create seamless transitions through our entire universe, the engineering team is making progress on object container streaming by changing some of our core engine code, which will radically increase the amount of content we can put in the game all at once without sacrificing any performance. For example, we're currently replacing the old prefab system in the hangar and shops with an object container in the preparation for this expected streaming. On the radar front, we've added an extra timer value to the object data bank, which will be used to specify how much time an entry can remain as an echo contact, as well as implementing the metadata component interface, which is an entity component that can be attached to any entity to make them radar detectable. We've also added an object data bank linking and unlinking feature so that entities will inherit databank entries from their parent. This will allow a player to inherit information from the ship he or she is currently sitting in. And then we're also working on new scanner gameplay tied into the new radar system that build on the mechanic of revealing more or hidden information on radar objects. We're really excited about this addition because it will have a lot of potential elements to scanning another ship and will be instrumental in the eternal struggle between smugglers and law enforcement, for example. Lastly, the engineering team is working on lighting states to provide a little bit more context when it comes to space stations, ship interiors, and other sorts of man or alien-made environments. We want the lights to be able to have various altered states to reflect certain situations, like low power or emergency lockdown. While we currently have a way to accomplish this using layer switching, it has its downsides, such as requiring duplicate lights for each state and having no options for transition animations. We're therefore developing a new entity called a light group that will take control of these lights that are assigned to it. With its own internal state machine, the light group will be able to modify its lights depending on the current state. For example, switching from a normal light state to an emergency light state and then back. You can think of it as the ultimate light switch. Now, over on the character side, we've moved further down the pipeline on many of our new outfits. Specifically in Squadron 42, we have lots of deck crew who work a variety of jobs, and some of them need to work on the exterior of ships in the vacuum of space. This deck crew outfit is coming along nicely and is firmly in the high poly modeling phase. Also, you've seen the Explorer spacesuit recently in the newsletter and on our previous updates, and it's moving along nicely as well. The team is finalizing texturing and has already been sent to rigging, which will allow us to get it tested in-game in the very near future. And last but not least, we're working very hard on the Heavy Armor class for both Marine and Outlaw. We now have the 3D concept for the Heavy Outlaw going through rounds of feedback, and once that concept's approved, it'll move right on into the high poly modeling phase. While the Heavy Marine is in engine and headed over to the rigging team, then on to the final implementation. Well, that wraps us up for the LA Studio update. Thank you very much for your support, and see you again soon.
Hey guys, Jake Ross here, producer for CIG Austin. Let's take a look at what's been going on this month in the Austin studio. One of our big focuses this month is to get the first pass of implementation of trade into the game. So Austin Design Team has been designing the next round of shops that will be available after the upcoming 2.6.2 patch. A few things that are required to make this happen are the initial list of commodities, the locations in which you buy and sell them, and a variable economy to provide the player with options of places to sell their commodities. Our goal in Star Citizen is to have a functioning, fluctuating economy that mirrors the real world in as many ways as possible. This economy will include goods flowing from their mined or gathered states, then onto the refineries, passing through manufacturers, and ultimately turning into buyable or tradable items. The price of these items will be an important element of gameplay, because players' actions can impact the flow of resources, which will in turn affect supply and demand. For example, if trade lanes get disrupted between the various production sites due to player interference or something else similar, this will change both the prices they're willing to pay for goods, as well as the quantity of goods they have available. Since we're still in the early stages, we began with a basic commodity structure that represents the major groups: ore, gas, food, medical supplies, and vice, things like drugs or other illegal items. That way, players can get an idea of which resource types will be fought over within the Star Citizen universe. Once the system is proven out with a small subset, commodities will evolve and expand and grow into more specific things like gold, hydrogen, rations, bandages, etc., etc., etc. We want to ensure it's a fun experience by getting the core economic structure in place and testing it out before getting bogged down with the complexity of specifics. Next, we obviously need places to purchase and offload this cargo once you buy it and refine it and manufacture it. For the next major release, we are adding a new station type called the truck stop, which is being worked on by the Frankfurt design team. We figured that all stations have the need for a certain level of resources in order to sustain their existence and thought that it was a little weird to sell your resources directly to the shops themselves. So we created a new shop type called the admin office, which will most notably focus on buying and selling station imports and exports for the local stores on the stage. This shop would also control local storage rentals and include a job board to complete and plan deliveries. This shop type will be in the majority of the locations that don't have a fully fleshed out TDD, which is focused more on things like commodity trading. Ultimately, the prices of commodities will vary by supply and demand based on the dynamic economy. But as a first iteration, commodity prices will probably stay within the range of their base prices and likely will be set by hand. Basically, we need to test buying and selling around the universe before we upgrade to a variable rate. This will allow us to answer questions like, how fun is it to actually find cargo from a derelict spaceship? How fun is it to steal things from other players or from some unsuspecting NPC on a planetary outpost? How much is a reasonable reward when you run across them in these scenarios? What type of profit margins are going to make this compelling? We look forward to getting these elements into the game once we have answers to the questions like these. On the art side of things, the lighting team has been doing both initial lighting passes and polish passes for some of the locations you'll see in the Squad 42. The team is also going back to some older content like the Retaliator and Constellation and doing some general optimizations and polish work. These changes include fixing the infamous strobe lighting bug in the Retaliator cockpit, as well as improving performance inside these specific ships. The ship art team is currently in the gray box phase of the shipbuilding process for the Drake Cutlass Black. As shown in part 1 of the ship pipeline video, the gray box phase means the basic geometry of the ship has been built and the smart normals and UVs are completed. Now the team is concentrating on adding primary and secondary detail with the geometry and material work. The interior of the Drake Cutlass Black has also gotten a lot of attention this month in the form of added detail and kit bash pieces from the Caterpillar. The team also completed a first lighting pass for the interior of the Cutlass. The Austin ship animation team has been working with the UK and the LA studios to bring you some new badass ships. We just wrapped up the gray box phase of our mining ship, the Misk Prospector, with the UK team. In Austin, we're working on a new redesigned Drake Cutlass as previously discussed, and we're supporting them as well. And lastly, we're finalizing all the Drake Buccaneer animations. All the ships will be completed, online, and available before you know it. Over the past month, the PU animation team continues to create animations so our NPC characters can interact with the environment. One of these animations includes replacing the rough, retargeted animations on the female with properly shot animations of female performance. We have also made headway in debugging issues with our animation, skeletons, and our animation pipeline in general. With the help of code and design, we also started researching better ways to implement the hundreds of animations we've developed over the years. We began with the mess hall table that's located in the Idris, with the goal of creating an entire eating experience for a character, and specifically for NPCs. It starts with a character grabbing a tray, navigating to a table seat, then the character sitting down, eating, drinking, and performing any other actions. Finally, the character will stand with the tray in hand and navigate to the tray disposal. We then provide these animations to the Frankfurt studio, and they take it over from there. You may have seen a little bit of this in the Frankfurt update from last week's Around the Verse. The global connection between each studio is key to getting our work done properly. The server engineering team has been supporting both live and the upcoming 262 patch. We have introduced and continue to enhance multi-region support for matchmaking, and there have been multiple fixes and tweaks to both the party system, contacts, and friends, which includes improvements to invitations and online and offline state notifications. We have directed much of our energy towards the new Diffusion architecture refactor for the backend services. Diffusion allows us to easily create stateless microservices using the combination of C++ and the proprietary Ooze scripting language. By combining these two languages, we can create highly scalable and high-performing stateless services. In other words, we can support a higher number of concurrent players with improved stability and less downtime. All of the current backend services have been updated to run on the Diffusion core, which allows us to continue to refactor and rewrite services for Diffusion without impacting current service operations. Finally, we have finished the new Diffusion API Gateway, which allows Spectrum and other external services to seamlessly integrate with the Diffusion network. The player relations team spent the month traveling to the various studios, Founder 42 in Manchester and Turbulent in Montreal. Much of the trip was spent working with various design teams and stakeholders on ways to better collect and distribute specific feedback. This feedback can then be used during Evocati and PTU waves during testing. Player relations was heavily involved in testing, setting up and launching both 261 and Spectrum. It was fantastic to see players jump right into Spectrum. We've gotten great feedback on how to improve it, and we're very proud that players love Spectrum so much. Last but not least, we've been growing the player relations team in Austin. The team has open positions right now, and they have been interviewing some awesome candidates, all of which are part of the Star Citizen community. If you're interested in joining the team in Austin, check out our website and our jobs page at cloudimperiumgames.com/jobs. Thanks guys for watching and for all your support. We'll see you in the verse.
Hi everyone, I'm Aaron Roberts. I head up global production at Cloud Imperium Games and I manage our European studios. I'm based here in our Foundry 42 Winslow office, which is about 10 miles south of Manchester in the northwest of England. We are now at 201 people in this office, and we have a further 9 employees at our new small Derby studio in the East Midlands, which focuses on mainly facial animations, but also some body animation for Squadron 42 and Star Citizen. Already this year, we've hired 22 new staff, and for a bit of fun, we worked out the combined games development experience of everyone in Foundry 42 UK, which comes to 1,510 years. We've just finished work on the expansion of the first floor of Freedom House in Winslow, which has given us back some badly needed space, as everyone was crammed onto just 2 floors for the last 3 months, and it wasn't great. The new floor is definitely a breath of fresh air and has given us 76 new desk spaces, 2 conference rooms named Retribution and Gladius, and a great new break area called Fortune's Cross. Some of these names you know, others you'll be introduced to as Star Citizen grows. We've got a pretty big update for you guys, so let's get into some of the details about what we've been up to this last month. On the programming side, we've been working on a number of systems to really push the quality and immersion of both Squadron 42 and the persistent universe. We've completed Sprint 2 of the player interaction system, which improves how the player interacts with items or picks up objects using the new highlighting and inner thought systems. This will allow a much more intuitive and accessible UI experience for players, clearly identifying what they can interact with, as well as a clean, smooth experience while doing so. The new system, or the new mission system, is moving really well. We are now on Sprint 3 and design are using the new tools to set up the missions in the PU. The old flow graph missions, which were not scalable to the need of our dynamic universe, are going away to be replaced with a tool which can create diverse and systemic missions, giving the player an abundance of different and diverse mission types. Also tied into this, the design team here is now also using the new Frankfurt-developed system editor tool known as Solid to visually put together our system maps for Star Citizen. Both of these tools will really increase the productivity of our design teams. We've completed 2 locomotion sprints, the first to blend the walk into full run and back to walk animation sets to create a much more realistic feeling for player inertia whilst using the keyboard. The second sprint was to vastly improve AI path following so characters traverse close spaces and blend between animations in a much smoother manner. Our graphics team has been busily working on improving and optimizing the lighting in the game. One major part of this work is a major upgrade to the quality and accuracy of rectangular lights, which is a feature the artists have been requesting due to the prevalence of these types of lights in science fiction films. Typically, game support to the rectangular lights is very limited due to their very high cost, which is why we've spent a lot of time optimizing our shaders to make them viable. The diffuse lighting and the reflections are now much closer to real-world behavior, and the difference this makes to our character lighting is absolutely huge. On the networking side, the team is finishing off the serialized variable which will reduce network bandwidth for the PU. They finished the new message queue to make the sending and receiving of packets more stable and are finishing off the new multiplayer mega map so players can quickly traverse to different game modes without the long load times of the past. Animation has been very busy also. Weapon reload, firing, hand posing select and deselect work has been worked on for the P4AR, P8SC, P8AR, Devastator Shotgun, Railgun Gallant and Arrowhead. Previous work has been done for the Oxygen and Stamina Sprint as well as feedback on the female rig so we can lock down final posing. Other work includes a no weapon locomotion pass update, stock sprint update and a prone combat animation pass. Our facial animators in our Derby studio have been focusing on a lot of S42 work to bring our characters and story to life, as well as work on the PU for 3.0 to support fixers, bartenders, shopkeepers and general population wildlines. The concept team's work is ongoing on the Aegis Reclaimer interiors. The team has worked on a second pass on weapons to improve reload visuals and add detail where needed, and work has been ongoing on new ship weapons also. There has also been a lot of concept work for both our PU and Squadron 42 environments to give our artists strong direction on our planetary landscapes, habitations and landing locations, but also for our space environments and space stations. And it is looking really cool. Moving on to the environment team, has lots of ongoing work with Squadron 42, but has also started early work on the truck stop exteriors, including the interior modularity, to show the variety of locations we will be able to place in the PU. The team has been working to keep the art style consistent while also accommodating all the functionality required by design. The planetary service outposts are just finishing their initial art sprint and the base building set is complete. The team have all the elements needed to create small outposts in multiple configurations, which are being set up so that they can be distributed across different landscapes. Now we have our building blocks, we can start adding the details which give them flavour and detail. Also, with the surface outpost, the team is developing how our shaders are going to react when we place these architectural elements in various biomes. We are looking into a system which will help give us believable systemic integration without having to invest lots of bespoke art time. Lastly, the environment team has been investing time in creating the visual targets for our space look and feel. Not only do we want to add lots of detail to our locations, moons and planets, but also we want space itself to be exciting and interesting to explore, whether travelling through anything from a nebula or dense asteroid field to a space storm or an anomaly. The visual effects team has been focusing on a lot of planning to support our new planetary environments, including atmospheric flight effects and modular procedurally generated surface spaces. Work has been done on thruster and damage effects for the Constellation Aquila, high-tech damage effects library updates, building on last month's explosion template, and also further polish to ballistic SMG weapons. The UI team has been working incredibly hard over the last months putting together what you guys have already seen with the new front-end interfaces from 2.6 and are still strongly ploughing ahead with the needs of both the PU and S42. This month's work has progressed on our new kiosk shopping interface, proven out by our prototype, which allows us to make sure it works in all our locations and shop types. Also, work is continuing on improving all our in-game HUD UI, whether walking around or on a ship. The audio team, as always, are supporting all the sprints and tie into and support most of the work the other teams do. This month, the standout tasks included fixing up performance issues and tool improvements, audio for new ships including the Dragonfly, Connie Aquila, Prospectrum and Buccaneer, work on the music composition for both at Squadron 42 and the PU, speech processing, fixes to weapon audio, and finally Foley work so the right noises can be heard from differing material types. Anyway, that's it from the UK office this month. I hope you all enjoyed the update and it gave you some insight into how much is going on, not only in this office, but all throughout CIG, as a lot of these features we talk about are a collaboration between teams spanning sometimes all 5 of our studios. Hopefully you get an interesting glimpse of why the team is working so hard to create a universe and level of immersion never seen in a computer game before. This is truly why Star Citizen will be the best damn space sim ever. Once again, I'd like to thank all our subscribers for helping us put together these updates together, and of course, everyone in the community for your incredible support. You are all powering us on to make this groundbreaking universe and dream come alive. It's really appreciated by everyone here at Cloud Imperium Games. Thank you all, and I'll see you in the verse.
Hi everyone, I'm Brian Chambers, Development Director here at Foundry 42 Frankfurt. A little info on the team here. We're currently 67 people strong, made up of people across 14 different nationalities. Main language in the office is English, so we can easily communicate with the other studios. But at any point in the office, you can hear discussions in German, Italian, etc. Let's jump into the team and see what the team's been working on over the past few weeks. Tech Art team here is made up of 2 people. This month, they worked on a tool for both cinematic and gameplay animators to quickly render out previews of their work within Maya. The tool allows the animators to quickly offload the rendering to a different PC so they can continue work on their own PC. The renders are an essential part of our review process here so that the global teams can have an eye on everyone's progress across all the studios. They worked on numerous other small tasks as well, such as skinning of cloth, automated file testing within Maya, and supporting the weapons team, to name a few. Cinematics team is focusing on telling the rich story of Squadron 42, as we all know. The team's making great progress putting scenes of various sizes together. They continuously work across multiple disciplines to get the final look and feel that they're after, such as the character team for our A-list cast of characters, UI and art teams on specific visuals, and the VFX team on unique atmosphere and effects. We're holding back and showing scenes for now, so we don't give any of the story away, but we honestly look forward to the time that we can show them all off to you. The weapons art team here in Frankfurt, who you've heard from before, is broken up into 2 areas of focus. One on FPS weapons, and the other one working solely on ship weapons. The FPS team has been focusing on giving a final polish pass for the Bering and Klaus and Werner weapons, as well as a new double-barrel ballistic shotgun from the Kostak Arms. The ship weapon guys have been focusing their time on finalizing the pipeline for the new modular and upgradable system, which, when completed, will allow us more flexibility and efficiency when we're moving forward and creating the variety that we're after. The past month on the DE VFX team has continued work on the procedural systems for placing particles on the surface of the planet, as we showed in our last update, I believe. The system's in place now, and it'll make the setup of particles much easier for the future planets. They've also been working with the system designers on a brand new oxygen breathing system and the visuals attached to it. The visuals are tied to the player losing a portion of their oxygen over time for various reasons. The system is still incredibly early in its development and may change, but it's so far showing good progress. System designers here have been working with programming to get the player and the AI both interacting with the same usable, and to intelligently be able to use other objects inside that usable. For example, sitting down at a table, picking up a cup, drinking from it, using a knife and fork, picking a grenade or gun from a locker, etc. They also worked on getting all the Squadron 42 character subsumption behaviors standardized across the board. They started with a main cast character to get them working in perfect order for a full 24-hour life cycle, all the conversations that can form with NPCs, etc. And once that's finished, the same standard will get applied to all characters to ensure everything is consistently made and everyone has a fixed template to follow when creating NPC behaviors. The level design team is continuing its push on the modular locations. For the surface outposts, we're looking into the first 3 variants: hydroponics, mining, and storage. And just as with our other locations, both the exterior and the interior props are modular and can be combined into many different variants. This is the only image they gave me to use for now. We'll have a more in-depth look into the recent work in the near future, and they didn't want me to spoil it. And all the modular systems we're developing enable us to quickly build a large number of locations while still maintaining our high visual target that we're after. For the engine team, it's been a busy few weeks for them as they continue on a daily basis to push on the planetary tech. Some of the recent work on planetary tech was planetary clouds. For one, the texture LOD computations for cloud details were revised in order to reduce aliasing and shimmering artifacts in the distance. We also included support for simple cloud animation, which we'll see further improvements on in the future. For alien planets, there's now also an option to tint clouds. Work also started on our solar system editor, which is the first version, it's almost complete. It allows us to set up solar systems in their initial state. drag in planets as object containers, configure their orbits around the sun, set up moons orbiting around planets, etc. It's an essential tool that we found out due to the size that we're working with and the amount of objects that we have. The tech team also did numerous other improvements, such as replacing the video player backend, which now allows for much higher quality video at a much reduced file size. They worked on mesh indices, compression, and enabled client-side feature testing to allow continuous testing against a large variety of game and engine features, systems, and mechanics, and automatically track if and when which submits cause anything to fail. This month, the environment art team grew by another 2 artists. Collectively, they've made a lot of progress on the procedural moons around Crusader. Each moon has its own distinct look and feel. A lot of effort has gone into making each one unique, at the same time visually keeping them tied to the same family, per se. The work on the different ecosystems for these moons is now complete, and the team is currently working on refining the geological elements that will be found on each separate moon. We're excited for players to eventually visit the 3 moons, Yela, Daymar, and Selene, by flying seamlessly from space to the procedural planet's surface. The development of a procedural tech is ongoing, and with a growing team of artists using it on a daily basis and working directly with the programmers to improve the tools, we're creating a strong and extremely strong foundation for our future content. The AI team this month successfully completed 2 separate sprints related to implementing the subsumption mission system's functionalities to enable us to implement the research and rescue missions in Crusader. One of the low-level features has been the implementation of the superGUID. The superGUID is a way to connect a variable in subsumption to an object in the world that has a specific structure to it. For example, in Crusader, we have one made object container that defines the Stanton system. This container has a clear structure and contains several asteroid fields, Port Olisar, etc. In the mission logic, we can have multiple superGUID variables that allow us to access different specific elements within any given structure. This month, the AI guys also introduced a new tool, the Subsumption Visualizer. This tool allows us to debug live mission and behavioral logic, allowing us to modify in real time the variable of the brain of the NPCs or the mission flow. This tool is fully integrated into the engine, and it will be the central place for the debug functionalities of Subsumption as a whole. Thanks for taking the time. Thanks for listening. This wraps up the update from Frankfurt. Appreciate all the support, and we'll see you again soon.